Hi, I'm going to go over some quick pointers on how to use the Timeline program. You may have a Timeline program tab on your version, and in which case you can just click Launch here. If you don't see that, you can go to View to start the program, click on Macros, and go to Launch Form. You'll see on this front screen you can start a new timeline or load save data. Load save data is for if you were working on a timeline program before and you want to continue with those values. We're not doing that, so we're going to click on Start New Timeline. You got a warning message here just reminding you that you're overwriting the loaded values and you want to make sure it's a new timeline, which it is for us. So let's continue. Okay, here's the control screen where you put in all the values that'll generate the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and just click on Build Timeline so you see what the default look and feel is. Everything you see here, with the exception of this bar right here, is based on values entered in the General Attributes tab. The default is to have one taskbar, which is here on the taskbar tabs, which you see right here. We're going to focus now on the General Attributes, but just so you see how changing some of the General Attributes affects the taskbars, I'm going to throw another task in here and one more, just so you get an idea. Okay. Let's change this date to be a little later. So you got something called a milestone here. You have a very long task and a super short task. I'm going to make this task later. All right, so you got a sprinkle of things. So let's go back to the General Attributes tab. Right here on Overall Timeline Attributes, you have a start date and an end date. This is something you're going to commonly want to edit if you have put in task values that span a certain time period, but you want to see them depicted on a timeline with a different range. So let's go longer by changing the start date and changing the end date. So you can see that the date at which these tasks were depicted are still the same, but the overall start and end date of the timeline has changed, and therefore everything's scaled to accommodate that. Another thing you can do here is change from calendar to fiscal year. And when you do that, you see the tick marks indicating the year's change moved from January over to the end of September, beginning of October, and also the labeling of the years changing to FY. You can change the horizontal position, vertical position, height, width. I'll go ahead and make the height a little bigger so you guys can see what that looks like. And bam, it's cumbersomely high now, so let me take it back down. These two border lines are not very significant right now. I'll show you what they do, but in some later instruction, I'll show you really why they're used. Basically, all they are is this top border and this bottom border. You can change the color, you can change the thickness. So I'll go ahead and change the thickness of the top one and change the color to yellow and make it visible. And you can see it up there. There's some times where this aesthetically, for making different types of Gantt charts and timelines, this aesthetic quality comes in handy. So I'm going to go ahead and make that invisible. And the next thing I want to go over is the scale bars. You can probably surmise that month, quarter, and year bar correspond to these three bars right here. You have a lot of different things you can do with them as far as visual attributes go. Colors, height, both on the backgrounds and the tick marks. You can also pretty quickly move them to the top or bottom. Let's go ahead and tinker with that a bit. Year bar, let's go ahead and move that to the top. And the vertical position is going to indicate it with relativity to the base. So let me change that down. Hit build, and you can see it's 5 above the top of this, and now it's anchored on the top. You can bring it below, you can change the height. Let's make it bigger, see what it looks like. Okay. You can change the background, scroll up a bit. border cut, or you make it beveled or unbeveled. One of the more important things to do is be able to change the format of the year or the month. Year I just changed to 2 digits instead of FY, and you can see that. The month right now, if we tried to change it to anything bigger than this, given the scale that we're dealing with, it wouldn't fit, and you'd have all kinds of word wrap overruns, and it wouldn't look very pretty. So let's go ahead and change this to a much shorter time span. Okay, so this is about a year time span now. All right, so let's see if we can fit a different type of text format in here. Let's go with word, meaning the whole word spelled out. Oh, it's still a little too crunched, so we'll make it smaller. And that's great for a time period like this. There's a lot of other options here. For example, if you wanted to make the height of the month bar more significant and then do 3 letters bottom to top, I'd have to change the month bar now. I didn't change the vertical position to be a little taller. And you can see how you could use this to have a longer scale to really fit a lot of data in here as far as the months go. And as always, the taskbars adjust automatically to whatever the time scale is. Couple other things over here. Actually, over here, not leaving month bar, you got font size, font color, or all the scale bars rather. This back portion is dictation of the tick marks, which you can see here. You can make a tick mark any color. You can make it bigger than the background. You can just adjust the quarter ones. You can just adjust the month ones or the annual ones. Here on vertical chart lines, you got a similar sort of layout. Right now, they're all the same color, but I'll give you an example. What if we wanted to make the annual lines only a little bit darker? So we'll make that a deep gray instead of a light gray. I'm not sure if you can see the light gray, but the month lines are on light gray and they're visible right now. And let's take the dash off also. So now you can see the annual lines are dashed here. Now, we're on a fiscal calendar. If we moved it to a regular calendar year, all those things would move over. You also have the today line option here. Right now it is listed for 5/19/2015. If you click on today's date, it draws from the system clock what today's date is, and here it's 1/17. So if I built that again, you would see that move to the day's date, and you can change the color and thickness of all these lines. One more thing here, title caption. This is just if you want to put a title bar over the whole thing. Let me move the year bar, actually make it not visible because it's going to crowd into that same space here. Title bar is by default mounted at the top. You can put it at the bottom. It is by default not visible. Let's make it visible. The background color is by default a dark color here. Looks like black. And we will just say hello for our title. And as you can see, a title comes up. One major thing to do that is very helpful is if you don't want to use this program to create these taskbars or milestones, one of the things that you can do is just build the background. If you've ever tried to build one of these with just PowerPoint, you'll find that making sure the scale is correct takes a lot of time in and of itself. So let's just go ahead and assume that's what we're trying to do. I'm going to click on Load Default Values. It's giving me a warning indicating I'm losing this data, which I'm okay with. I'm going to build the timeline again. Okay, back to what we saw initially. So let's say that we just wanted to create something where we could see the background and not have to worry about the background and the scale, not have to worry about the taskbar. You can always just click on this when you're done and hit delete because all it is a drawing object from PowerPoint. But you can also go in here before it's generated, click on delete task, and then you're just looking at the background attributes. So I just want to suggest keeping this in mind for any sort of timeline that you're starting with, whether it's within a particular year. So let's give an example of that, 15 to 16. That's 1 year's worth. In that instance, we probably want to do whole words for the month bar. No, we don't. We want to do bottom to top, 3-letter. Let's try that. And quarter bar isn't very often used in practicality. Sometimes it is, depending on what you're dealing with. Make this a little bit bigger on the month bar. Actually, this spans 2 years rather than 1. That was a mistake. Let me get it to span 1 year. Great. Bring this down just a bit. Oh, that was the height. Vertical position. Bring it down just a bit. Too much. So that's pretty close. You know, you could put if you wanted, you can change the colors of everything. You put the year bar on top. You know, I think most people would want to change the month lines to something darker. And the background to something perhaps different. We'll go with yellow. And as you can see, that's much different. Now, you'll notice that the month lines did not fill out every single line. You know, this is technically a month line right here, but these quarter lines and year lines are drawn on top of the month line. So whatever takes precedent as the largest span of time will be the line that is drawn there. So to change all of them to that color, you would have to go through all 3. And voila, you have a different pattern there. And this is a pretty quick and dirty way to go ahead and get a scale. If you want to use your own drawing tools that, you know, PowerPoint provides after this, feel free to. You can put your own task up here and make it a certain color. You can also, after that point, let me go ahead and take the line off of this, make it not dashed, it's a little odd. There you go. You can also, if you decided to change the scale and you had a lot of writing on here, like this one or this one that you decided to put up here, and you wanted to change some attribute of the timeline, like perhaps the color of the background again, now to an orange, or the scale to something, select something a little shorter time span, you can hit build timeline and it will all change, and the things you drew on top of that will remain there.